Have you ever wondered why Europa Universalis 4 ends in 1821, and exactly on the date of the 3rd of January 1821? I did too, and today you're going to learn why 1821 was chosen for the end date in EU4. But before we begin, did you know 70% of you aren't subscribed? So if you love EU4 content, why not consider subscribing like these people? So when Paradox was deciding how to end EU4, there were a number of things they had to take into account. Firstly, one of their games, Victoria 2, starts in 1836. Therefore, Paradox didn't want EU4 and Victoria 2 to overlap, and EU4 had to officially end before 1836. Secondly, as the world became more complex in terms of international relations and governments, the EU4 mechanics became less and less relevant, and didn't really fit into the narrative of the late 18th century world. Paradox then decided that EU4 needed to be ended in the era of the late modern period. In EU3, Paradox ended the game in 1789. However, they extended it to 1821 with an update called Napoleon's Ambition. This was because Paradox thought playing as Napoleon in his prime was highly appealing to large numbers of people, particularly the French. Napoleon is appealing because he was seen as one of the greatest generals in history. The time in which Napoleon was active was also a really interesting period for Europe, with a large amount of wars and events that would have consequences in Europe to this day. Therefore, Paradox thought they could potentially gain more sales, adding the Napoleonic era. The same logic was carried over to EU4, and Napoleon is even on the loading screen of EU4, in order to appeal to gamers interested in history. The main reason, therefore, for the end date being in 1821 is because 1821 is the year in which Napoleon dies. However, what's strange is the end date is on the 3rd of January, whereas Napoleon died on the 5th of May that year, leaving me to be slightly confused why the 3rd of January was so significant, and perhaps the end date should be moved to the end of the year. Another potential reason for the end date being in 1821 is because this was a time when Spain ended their dominance in Central and South America. When one main aspect of EU4 is colonisation of the New World, the end date fits quite nicely, with the European powers losing their dominance in the New World. So, is the 3rd of January 1821 really the best ending for EU4? Well, one date that was far more important around this time period was 1815. This was because, during this year, the Congress of Vienna took place, which was a meeting of European powers. Four of the main European powers were Britain, Russia, Austria and Prussia. After the downfall of Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo, the aim of the Congress was to promote peace. Many historians believe that this was the true end date of the late modern period, and therefore may be a more suitable end date for EU4. Looking beyond 1821, another potential date is 1830, with the death of a British king, George IV. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and check out my other video on why EU4 started in 1444.